All right, I guess we just got to go with this camera tonight. Gotta love it. Now I gotta move y'all around so I can look in the camera. Boom. Now let me move this over here. What y'all up to tonight, gang? Let me see here. Where am I at? Which camera am I on? Audio, no pic. Can you see me now, bro? Can you see me now? Hey, can y'all see me? I should be in the bottom half of the screen. We'll figure that out. Only half. All right. Hey, but you can hear me, Barack. Can y'all hear me on Instagram? Hey, welcome to Late Night with Pastor Mike. I can see you half top. What can y'all see then? All right, well, shit. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Y'all can hear me though, right? All right, welcome to Late Night with Pastor Mike, Black Dads Club. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Figuring it out as we go. Y'all, believe it or not, I had 0 topics up until 8 o'clock. And then one of my friends sent me something. And, of course, she and I got into an argument. And that's why we having the conversation that we're going to have tonight is, what is masculinity and who gets to decide what masculinity is? But, of course, we're going to open up with some talent acquisition things tonight. A tip on the TA side. And that topic tonight is oversharing during the interview process. What to share, what not to share. So before we get all the way in, Black Dads Club podcast started by me, Gavin B. We actually dropped a new episode today. That should be on all platforms. Appreciate if you guys go to YouTube. Please go like and subscribe, share. New episode on YouTube normally drops the day after we drop the audio version. So if you just can't wait, audio version is up on all platforms. YouTube is typically up within the next 48 hours after that. Hey, appreciate you for coming in from VA, man. But what we talk about in Black Dads Club is not a parenting podcast. We kind of throw everybody off with that. What we intended for it to be was two men that were fathers that, have taken kind of different routes, and to be able to just discuss the things that affect us as black men in the community. So our community is 85% black males. I actually just looked at the demographics on our numbers. I would actually like to share those with y'all real quick. Let's see here. Let me hop into the studio. One of the surprising thing was a lot of our listeners are between the ages of community audience. All right. Over half of our listeners are between the ages of 25 to 34, which is actually pretty awesome because that's actually definitely younger than me, but also younger than the co-host Gavin B. After that, the bulk of our audience is between 35 and 44, which is going to be right around the age that I am. And then between 18 and 24 and 45 to 54, surprisingly, is another 16% of our audience. But looks like a good 70% of our audience is between the ages of 25 to 44. And I like that because we're building an organic community, and that means that we are discussing the things that affect us in the black community. So that's pretty much the day in the life of what we do at Black Dads Club. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Tonight's talent acquisition topic. So typically I like to open up with that because that's actually my cup of tea. That's my expertise. Gavin is the photographer. Anything that's audio visual, sans, the live is me. I won't make Gavin take credit for how bad this looks currently. But anything that's in the talent acquisition field is actually what I do. I put together teams, help people with resumes, things to get hired. And typically I like to open up with a talent acquisition tip. And my biggest one today is oversharing during the interview process. And when I say oversharing, a lot of times we think of that being on the phone. You know, we're on that live, Zoom interview, or we're in the actual interview, or we're in a phone interview. And those are places to overshare. But the biggest places where I see a lot of people mess up in oversharing is when your social media has the same name as you have on your resume, which is no big deal, right? It's your social media. But a lot of times it is very political, or it's very religious, or worse yet, it's very opinionated based around sex, orientation, or race. Those are things that if you are Googled will get you disqualified fairly early in an interview process. I know that seems unfair to a certain extent. It may be unfair, right? But you never know who a hiring manager is pulling for, what their religious lean may be, what their political lean may be. I have had managers that I could have sworn was the opposite of me. And November 6th, they're like, can you believe, not even just November 6th, any November 6th, they're like, and I'm looking at them like, is this a bait? Are they baiting me? I never say anything political in the office, but we see it a lot. We see a lot of times people apply for jobs, and whatever team you're pulling for is rah, rah, rah. And if that hiring manager is not on the same team that you're on, guess what? You're going to have to really fight a tough battle in order to get over the hump to get that hiring manager to like you. People do Google you when you apply for jobs, believe it or not. So just make sure your social media is cleaned up or at least hidden. It's no need to use your real full name and middle initial in all places, so make sure that it is cleaned up. That's the easiest disqualifier. The second disqualifier is also oversharing in job interviews. So, if you're in an interview and you are a single parent, sometimes that's important to us. It's our identity sometimes. And, if a job is demanding, if the manager knows they're going to hire you and it's going to be night work that you need to do or evening work that you need to do, even if you're taking your work home and you're telling them like, hey, I'm never available, after hours because I have to go pick my kids up from school. Those are things that you're oversharing. You don't have to share those things in a job interview. Anything that's not based around the job itself. Remember last week we talked about preferred qualifications. Those are the things that get you hired. Anything that's not listed in the preferred qualifications or requirements of a job is something that you're adding that's extra that may not help you in that job interview. So oversharing is something that we need to make sure that we do not do, especially in a competitive job market. Oversharing includes social media. It includes who you're pulling for in politics. If you're a Kamala fan, person hiring you may not be. Person hiring you may be, but their boss may not be. If you are a Trump fan, the person that's hiring you may not be. So keep that in mind. Make sure that we do not overshare or lean into things, or one of the biggest mistakes, look at somebody and think that we can tell which direction that they're leaning. Do not do those things. Do not overshare. All right. Now, let's hop into tonight. So, Gav and I briefly touched on this today on the pod. So, we did record today. We did drop today. And one of the notes that we have that we discussed today was, matter of fact, let's run through it real quick. I think Gavin dropped the pod. Let's see what he has it chopped up as. Hey, if y'all got any questions, man, just drop them in the chat, by the way. Because y'all know I work way better when y'all talking back to me. So let's see here. So we talked about Aisha Howard and her baby daddy, Anthony Edwards. We talked about the hoop session. Oh, for the record, we took the brooms out on Gavin and his boys. Yeah, they came up with a 0. Damon Wayans discussing his marriage and how he ruined it. One of the biggest parts of the pod today is Matt Barnes sat down with, I believe his name is Jason Wilson, about, when men should cry and the inner child that's in men. And then we wrapped it up with Charlemagne discussing how his life has changed since he had daughters. It really was based around him having children. You're not catching the stray, Gavin. Y'all got swept. It's not a stray. But one of the questions that I had is because one of my friends, she sent me something where it was basically like, all the things that the ladies have to do around the house, and whether or not men helping, do we find that to be masculine, right? Or not helping around the house? And first off, I shut it down at the beginning because men are doing more work around the house now than they've ever done before. Okay, so the complaint could be valid that men are not doing enough, but men are doing way more housework and more help around the house and with the kids than they ever have, right? So without acknowledging that, right, to just sit here and just say that men are not helping at all, that's BS. That is BS. So men are helping, right? But one of the questions that I told her, we got into it a little bit because I told her that she's comparing what bad men do against what a lot of good men do, right? Like a lot of good men are helping around the house, right? And we don't really say, hey, babe, I'm loading the dishwasher, or hey, I'm picking the kids up out of the tub, or hey, I'm moving the laundry from the washing machine to the dryer, right? We don't really say that because we kind of understand that this is just how housework goes, this is how teamwork go. But the second thing is, one of the things that we don't say as men is a lot of times we're chastised for not doing it good enough. And then we have to hear the complaint of weaponized incompetence. And I don't think it's really weaponized incompetence. I think it's men just not want to argue at home about how I'm helping you around the house. I would love to give you, whatever the help it is that you desire. But you're going to kind of have to let me know, okay, where you want me to be in this, right?
I can't connect the dots.
Like, where do you want me to be in this help? Well, as a matter of fact, she's still sending me messages. She was like, weird considering how lazy they are. Because I told her that men aren't lazy. I told her that right now it really looks like that our women are more lazy than the men right now. So, of course, we're in a full-blown argument. Baraka say he's guilty of it. Guilty of weaponizing competence, Baraka, or guilty of doing too much and feeling like you're not being seen? Oh, doing the most. And then, look, here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with. I don't think there's anything wrong with women saying that they're not receiving a lot of help, right? But I think the vast majority of men are doing a lot of housework. Gab, I agree. Part of teamwork is communication, right? But I don't know, man. I don't really think that she wants to hear, hey, I did this, I did that, right? I do think we need to step back a little bit from the men don't do anything around the house. I do think like the hours, like if you Google the hours increase from housework from the 1960s to the 2000s for housework done by men. I mean, it's like a half a day's of work that men are doing now in comparison to men of old. And look, look, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? I mean, when you had guys, Gab, I disagree, because if men are living by themselves, they're doing the housework, and if they're living with women, I doubt if a man is moving in with a woman and just immediately being like, I'm not doing the laundry no more. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Now I can say that like a lot of it when it comes to like children's laundry and things of that nature, yeah, because if I'm washing my clothes in Tide and then the kids' clothes have to be washed in scent free, odor free, can't do this, needs to be on casual, dry. Yeah, I can see a lot of men being like, well, I can't really do that. But I think, first off, every man that's living on his own is doing housework. He's doing his own housework. So I can't see him moving in with the woman or moving a woman in and just being like, yeah, I'm going to just hand this off. I don't see guys doing that. No, she's complaining. I wish she would log into this live, because that's all it is. She's just complaining. She's actually divorced. And I will say that, like, you know, in her defense, her husband, you know, didn't do a lot, but it wasn't that he did not do nothing. And now that she is doing it on her own, she's doing way more. I mean, at some point we do have to kill certain narratives. Like we got to kill this narrative of thinking that like I'm the only guy. I didn't say do most of the housework. I say men are doing more housework than ever. Men are doing more housework than ever. So if men are doing more housework than ever, and the complaint rate is higher, right? How do we get the complaint rate down? How do we get the complaint rate lower? And the housework more. I mean, I know a lot in comparison to what men have done in the past. Don't try to change the conversation. If we're saying men before are doing none, and men now are doing 35-40%, that is a lot. That is a huge difference. That is a lot. Are we trying to? I mean, here's the thing. I'm not moving the goalposts. I said men are doing more work than ever. We can't say that men are doing nothing, and then now that I'm mentioning that men are doing something, and then be like, well, it's not enough. Okay, we would have to put an arbitrary number on what is enough, right? Are we got to do it? Do we have to do it 50-50? Are we saying that like, hey, you got to do 50-50 housework? Then what does that look like? What is 50-50 housework? Bro, if you batted 350 to 40 in Major League Baseball, you'd be the greatest baseball player of all time. So to your point, while it might be subjective, there's a lot of arenas where 35-40% is a lot. I never said men are doing the majority of the housework. I said men are doing a lot of the housework. I never said men are doing the majority of the housework. I'm saying they're not doing nothing. If your odds were 30 to 45% that you were going to die, I think you would say that's a lot. But again, I'm shooting the men some bail because, you know, and again, and by the way, there wasn't a sister in my inbox with this bullshit tonight. That was not a sister. That was someone else. But I think it goes back into this whole topic of what I want to have tonight is when it comes to men and what men do in the homes and what men brings to the homes. 40% ain't a lot in academia and not sports. 40% is a lot. Hitting 40% of your threes is a lot. Hitting 40% in baseball is a lot. It's not a lot in achievement, but it is a lot in negation. Absolutely. But if you're talking about improvement, then the improvement isn't just like, men are handling 40% of the housework now. Improvement is men have went from like 0 to 5% of the housework to, let's say, 40% of the housework, right? I mean, that's an increase of 500%, 600%. So again, when we keep saying what men are not doing, and we're negating everything that men have done and accomplished, I mean, what are we saying they're doing here? Like, seriously, like what are we saying they're doing? I wonder if I can pull this in real quick here. I wonder, can y'all hear this? Tell me if y'all cannot hear this. I know you can't hear it.
If you can enlighten me, man.
All right.
You said that if you're a marriage-minded man, like that's more like you made it seem like it was a for sure thing, guaranteed that you can just make a woman who's not even showcasing qualities of a wife or even the mindset of being a wife into a wife. It's where I'm lost at.
Were you talking to me?
Yeah, I was talking to you, sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, man, I feel like a man is a leader. Like you can lead people to do anything you want if you have those leadership qualities. So if a woman is interested in you and she wants to be with you, you can lead her astray, or you can lead her to be a wife. You can lead her to do almost anything you want. You know what I mean? So it's like, say, I mean, that's just how I look at it, man. In my experiences, personally, I'm not saying that you could turn a hoe into a housewife. I don't know, but I know some people that actually has, and they have successful marriages. You know what I mean? But everything is not a one size fits all. But I do feel like, like say, if you were to get with a successful woman, you'll be more on point to be with that successful woman than you will be with the woman that's not doing too much. You know what I mean? So say if a woman is like, okay, I get to date Michael Jordan or a dude that's a bus driver, she gonna be super on point for a dude like Michael Jordan rather than she would the guy that's a bus driver. You know what I mean? People will step up to your level.
That sound like a gold digger. That don't sound like a woman who's.
I mean, bro, that's what it's. Everybody's an opportunist at the end of the day. A woman isn't looking at you for who you are. A woman is looking at you for what you can do for her.
Well, you can't use leadership in that story. That's not a matter of leadership. That's a matter of showcasing assets and money. And that's not a matter of leadership. Because
I mean, the money is just that's a small fraction of it, bro. You still have to be a leader with the money too.
Gentlemen, money's a small so it sounds like you're saying the reason for a man not finding a wife or even losing his wife is a matter of him not having any leadership.
I mean, hey, that's you're the head, bro. It's God, man, woman, and children.
I can't connect the dots on what Sherm said. I'm trying to understand.
All right, so I got that from the Lapeef Network. Ran into that tonight. Hold on, let me see if I get my. There you go. I'm back. All right. So the question that they had was, and I guess the guy named Sherm, what he said was, can you mold a woman into a wife? And I don't know the brother's name. I can't see it. It's too small with the bald head. But they're going back and forth, and I'm going to tie this into the masculinity conversation. Just rock with me, right? But we got one guy that's defending that, yeah, if you are a great enough leader, the woman is going to follow you, right? And wrong. All right. But the second thing that he was saying is that, you know, if you have the resources, that everybody wants something. And I agree with that. Now, that part I do agree with, because tell me if you've heard me say this before. What women are loyal to? What does Pastor Mike Will always say that women are loyal to? Come on. I know my congregation knows this answer. I know y'all know this answer. All right. Women are loyal to resources. So that's the first thing first. The second thing is, with this question, can a man mold a woman into a wife? All right. This is something that I think men really, really got to dig in on. All right. Being a wife is not a title, right? Like, you don't marry a woman and then all of a sudden she becomes a wife. Being a wife is a qualification, right? If you are hurt, you don't just go to any place that has a first aid bandage on there, right? You're looking for an urgent care, an emergency room, right? Why? Because I know when I walk into this organization, someone in there is going to have the qualifications to make me feel better. All right. Whereas men, when we're looking for a wife, you cannot mold any woman into a wife. And that's what I wish they would have got into, right? Because at the end, Sherm was like, you know, it's God, it's man, it's the woman, then it's the family. But what he did not say was, being a wife is a qualification. It's not I'm willing to learn something, right? And we're gonna get into this with masculinity tonight, because not even masculinity is a you know what, I want to learn to be masculine, right? You could be performative, but you could still not have what it means to be masculine. Because most of the time when you need to be masculine, it's at a place where it is high emotions. And most humans, whenever there's high emotions, you revert back to whatever state that you're in when you're at your worst, if I'm being honest. We're just being 100% transparent. Wherever you're at when you're at your worst, that's the person that you're going to revert into. And for most, I won't say for most men, for a lot of men, that's not being in a masculine area. That's not being in a place where you have care, grace, and mercy. That's typically in a place where men practice machismo way more than they practice restraint. And I think because we're so far away from masculinity as men, it's gonna be my humble opinion, that is leaking into other parts of our lives, including the ideal of settling down and having a wife, right? It's because we're of this ideal, or we're of this thinking of, well, if I lead her right, she's going to follow. And like, no, right? This isn't a volunteer army, right? She's not conscripted. She has volunteered to be here, but it's not a conscription, right? There's no mandatory minimum here, right? She can hop in and hop out, right? So she has to be incentivized. And one of the ways that men are lacking incentivizing, you know, women being with them, is our masculinity. We practice way too much machismo, right? The ideal that I can go out here and hurt somebody, the ideal that I can beat on my chest, right? Versus the ideal of, hey, I'm a place where safety is practiced. I'm a place where you're going to be satiated, right? I am a place where you're going to be seen and heard, right? These are the needs that a woman is going to have, right? That's what I'm going to survive. That's what I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide your needs, right? I am going to make sure that I show what masculinity is, right? I am going to make sure that I show care, grace, and mercy, right? In order to show care, right, I have to have abundance. In order to show grace, I have to be able to withdraw and take things away. And to be able to show mercy, I have to be able to be destructive, but have restraint to not be, right? So as a man, we should possess all these things, but the last thing that we should be wanting to practice is machismo, right? This ideal of macho, right? It's like I don't want to show that side to anybody. But once we learn that, we can now have a conversation of, all right, how do we find wives, right? How do I take on a wife, right? How do I look at the qualifications of what it takes to make sure a woman is a wife, right? Her being a woman isn't a qualification, right? Part of the qualification is recognizing that, man, he's doing a lot of things around here, right? Yeah, do I need more? I do need more, right? But because I hit the arc of appreciation, respect, and celebration, adoration or appreciation, adoration, respect, and celebration, I could be like, yeah, I appreciate what he's doing, right? I can focus in on what he's doing, right? That's the qualification that I need to look for in a wife, right? Does she appreciate or adores me, right? Then I can move into, okay, how does she respect me, right? And then I can move into, you know what, she celebrates me, right? Because if you have a woman that celebrates you, that little stuff that you do, you're gonna be like, man, that's impressive. You know, one of the things that and I'm not telling, this is completely separate, right? I'm not telling men that you should do this, right? One of the things that I love is when I am either at the pool or I'm out and my drink is getting low, and whoever's at the pool with me, my woman, my friend, whoever she is, right? When she goes get a drink, she brings me one back, right? I appreciate that because that means she's paying attention to me. I like that. I like being paid attention to. It's not unfair as a man. It's not unfair to be like, you know what? I kind of want a woman that pays attention to the things that I need, right? So it's those little things, right? But that's an adoration that I have of a woman, right? If I didn't adore that woman, right? If I looked at a woman I didn't adore and she did something small for me, I wouldn't care, right? But when I adore her, everything she does is impressive to me. When I respect her, right, there's a line that I'm just simply not going to cross. I am the prize, Mimi. You don't have to tell me. I know. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about being the prize. My woman is the recipient of that prize, right? See, you never see prizes, right? Like when someone wins a car, you never see the car excited, right? You see the person that wins the car that's excited. That's something that men got to understand. It's like, yo, yeah, we can be the prize, right? But there's not really a benefit to me being the prize, right? The benefit is to the prize winner. So here's the thing. If ladies want to be the prize, I don't have a problem with it, right? Because I would be excited to win a prize. They're like, oh my God, I have a woman that is the prize. But no, I agree. I think men should be the prize, and I think part of that process is men getting back to being masculine and making sure that they can practice, you know, being able to provide a woman the things that she needs. That's the biggest thing. I think that we do need to get back to that. We need to get back to being able to practice that ideal of safety, satiation, making sure that she feels seen and heard, right? Like those are the things that women really, really want, right? They want to feel safe, right? They want to be satiated, right? Sexually, food wise, like as a man, if we're hungry, we'll go like, man, we'll keep playing video games, we'll keep playing sports. We're like, yo, I get food when I get to it. I don't think women work like that, fellas. I don't know. I think when they're hungry, right? So, you know, we definitely got to do, you know, we got to provide that safety for them, right? The emotional safety, the physical safety, the sexual safety, right? You know, talking to one of the friends, you know, we were talking about a guy that was cheating on his girl while she was pregnant. It's like, yeah, you know, he's gonna have some problems, right? Because he's not practicing safety, right? So yeah, so we got to be safe. We got to provide safety for him. We got to provide satiation for him, right? Got to make sure that they're seen and heard. But once you provide those things as a man, right? Like once you move into that masculine space, right? You got to also make sure that you're receiving high input, right? The adoration, the respect, the celebration, right? Those are things that you're going to need as a man. Because if you're providing what you need to provide, safety, satiation, making sure she's seen and heard, all right, and then she's providing you the things that you need, adoration, respect, celebration, then little things such as how much I'm doing around the house doesn't really pop up as much, right? You see what I'm saying? Those conversations really kind of go away. They kind of go away because you have two people that are working together, and it's not even like it's not even a partnership. I know everybody like to use that term, but it's like when you watch a vehicle put together, right? Like, what's doing the most work in the car, right? Is the transmission doing more work than the engine, right? Is the radiator doing more work than the carburetor? The cars don't have carburetors; they have fuel injectors, right? But nothing is really doing more work, right? Everything is working together. And when one of those parts go, a lot of the parts is going to start going. So we have to really be heavy on what I'm doing as a man. And then we also got to be really heavy on the qualifications of a wife, right? Like, me assigning a title does not make a woman a wife, right? I have to find a wife. I have to find someone that is fully qualified. If I walked up on a homeless guy and he tells me that he's a doctor, I'm going to probably be like, all right, you might be on a bad time. Prove it to me, right? But if I walk into a hospital and I see he got the doctor on there, most of the time I'm not asking him, let me see your credentials, right? Because there's a level of trust there. So as men, we need to have a level of trust, right? Because the trust is falling apart with what masculinity is now, right? Because we're letting everybody have a conversation about masculinity. The only people that should be having a conversation on masculinity right now are masculine men. That's it. Nobody else should be involved in that conversation right now. All right. If you're a man that's hurt, shouldn't be having a conversation on masculinity. If you're a man that's bitter, should not be having a conversation on masculinity. All right. It should be men that are masculine. We should be leading the conversations on masculinity. And we're not. We're letting guys who practice machismo run the conversation on masculinity. And then actual masculine men are having to run behind them and try to explain, like, hey, there is a level of respect and authority that I need in order for us to move forward. And then everybody looking at that and it's like, well, that's misogynistic. And it's like, it's really not. Right? We can't wait for everything to fall apart before we have a conversation of, well, let's hand this over to the man that's going to fix it. Right? Things need to stop being broken because we need to have a community that is led by more masculine men. All right, I'm off my soapbox. That's really all I got tonight. Y'all are quiet, so I don't know. I don't know if I said anything wrong, anything right. Y'all know I'll sit on the island. These opinions are the opinions of Pastor Mike Will and may not necessarily be a part of the positions of Black Dads Club as a whole. Somebody tuned in on YouTube. We got to get the YouTube fix over there. But hey, I appreciate y'all chiming in for the night. This is a short one tonight. Because I'm still figuring out like what I can and can't say, so I don't get. Gav says this until it goes viral. He was wrong about the McDonald's dad. I wasn't wrong. I still don't think he should go to jail. I just didn't know he was a piece of crap. But that's what I do. I am clear on this pod at the black man bails bondsman. Until you screw up, I'm gonna shoot bail for you. And when you do screw up, I'm gonna ignore it. You don't see Fox News over there reporting anything on Donald Trump. Like, why would I sit here and go after black men? There's 100 podcasts out there that's gonna bash black men. Why would I make mine 101? Like, I'm not gonna have my opinion out here. Like, no. big up to the bro Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, man, his story is actually one of the best stories. Like to watch him lose his job at Alabama, which he shouldn't have, to Tua. But he went to Oklahoma and actually worked on his mechanics and was a way better quarterback. And then to watch him get drafted in the second round, go to the Eagles, who's a way better organization than what I thought, and to see him actually become a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Love the Jalen Hurts story. I think part of the reason why they don't really big up Jalen Hurts is because he has a close relationship with his father, if I'm being honest. If I'm just being transparent. The fact that he is trying to do everything the right way. He's not, we hear about Tyreek Hill way more than we hear about Jalen Hurts, right? Like I seen the Tyreek Hill's getting divorced from his wife story way more on social media than I saw Jalen Hurts getting married today. So, and I don't think any of us are surprised that Tyreek Hill is getting divorced. I don't think that surprised anybody. I think the surprising part is that he was ever married or it took this long. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Brock, he kills it, and then he finds out what he's doing is stupid, and then he stops doing it, and then he does something else stupid, and then that craters it. Then he stops doing it. It's the craziest stuff. But again, you're right. You don't see people that support him attack him. He gets treated by Tyreek Hill had like 3 kids and then I don't know, like 3 months of each other. I mean, I'm being a little salacious there, but it was a short period of time. He had a lot of kids in a short period of time, so he's either cheating or he's in ethical non-monogamous relationship. So I don't know. I don't judge. Like I said, I don't use my time or my platform to go in on men. I hold men accountable, but I'm not gonna pile on. He had 5 kids in 1 year. That's yeah. I'm gonna say he's ethical non-monogamous at minimum. I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna say okay, he's ethical non-monogamous. Oh man, hey man, I appreciate y'all hanging out for a few. I guess 9 o'clock does work a little bit better. As we get more people online, we'll start going longer and longer. But this is fun tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hey, always feel free to drop a DM. Definitely check out this week's pod on all platforms. Actually, ended up being a really good episode today. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, that's all I got, folks. So, hey. If you got my number, text me. If not, hit me on Instagram, Twitter, at Pastor Mike Will on all platforms. And